I'm Jim Collison, and live from the Gallup campus here in Omaha, Nebraska, very chilly Omaha, Nebraska. This is Gallup's Theme Thursday, recorded on February 26th, 2015. Theme Thursday is a Gallup webcast series that dives deep into the CliftonStrengths Finder themes, one theme at a time, and today's theme is responsibility. If you have questions, comments, or contributions during the webcast, we do have a live chat room available for you. Love to have you just look down below the main video window and log in if you can. It's the best way to get your questions into the program as well. And if you're listening to the recorded version where you need custom coaching solutions for small, medium, or large organizations, we do that as well. You can send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. We'll get right back to you. Don't forget to visit the Gallup Strengths Center, just gallupstrengthscenter.com, for all your coaching resources and training needs. You can also catch the video and now both downloadable and streaming audio available for you for all our shows, both online and offline, are available at our coaches blog. That's just coaching.gallup.com. Kurt Liesfeld is our host today. Kurt works as a senior learning and development consultant at Gallup here on the riverfront, although he's coming in from Lincoln today. And Kurt, welcome to another Theme Thursday. Good to see you again. We've been a month away, so it's good to be back.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a long time, Jim. It's good to be back talking about themes. And today, our theme of the day, theme du jour, if you will, is responsibility. And I'm very happy that we have another kind of one of my associates, co-associate at Gallup, Klare Veath, who is going to be talking about what responsibility looks like in her life. So, Klare, it's great to have you on the call.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for inviting me. Excited to be here.
So let me just kind of get into our theme overture here again and talk about responsibility kind of from a high level, and then we'll kind of get at it in living color as Klare talks to us about it as well. Responsibility is, if I had to kind of define it in a very short sentence, would be it's really people who are serious and conscientious about keeping commitments to others and doing things right. That's kind of as brief as I can do it. I like to think about responsibility as the ability, and that's in the word responsibility. The ability that people with responsibility have is the ability to respond, and it's responding to other people. And I find, and this is actually one of my signature themes as well. It's my number one theme. I think it's really about people who. And this is maybe more me. I like to be asked. It's easier for me to be asked by someone to do someone than to ask. I like to be asked to help, as opposed to asking people to help. That's harder for me to do. That may be part of it. Statistically, this theme falls in the executing domain, and it obviously is about how people get things done. And I think to some degree, people who have high responsibility are driven by their commitments to other people. So the promises that they make, the commitments that they make are kind of key drivers to their performance. Now, I think conceptually, this theme could also fall in that relationship building domain, because I think there is an effect, a social kind of emotional effect to being a conscious, conscientious, dependable, trustworthy person. People tend to kind of count on you and depend on you, and they're kind of, so I think it conceptually can fit in that relationship building domain as well. Some of the nouns that I think help to define the nature of this responsibility theme, these are owners. I often say they're owners, not renters. And when you own something, you take it more seriously. And so when they own a project, own a commitment, they really take that pretty seriously. They are servants. I think there's a strong service orientation to this theme. When you think about the ability to respond to other people's requests or other people's needs, there is a strong service or almost customer orientation. So responder might be another word, someone who is responsive, a responder. Maybe a bit more reactive than proactive, depending on what are the themes you might have with that. I think there is a thread of perfectionism in this theme, and it's really about people who want to do it right. And right can be about kind of qualitatively, could be about that. It also can be about right with regards to values, kind of rightness and wrongness. There's a right way to do things, there's a wrong way to do things with regards to almost some ethical implications to this. Some adjectives that we might use. Conscientious would be a word. Driven. I think driven. People with responsibility are driven, just like people with achiever are driven. They're driven in slightly different ways, but I think responsibility might feel a lot like achiever to other people. I think another important word is duty. There is a kind of a and maybe it's another word would be should. I should do this because I said I would do this. So there's a kind of a shouldness and so duty. It also could be committed, sacrificial. In fact, sometimes I think sometimes this kind of sacrificial part of this particular theme can almost get close to being martyrdom. That may sound like an extreme, and I think sometimes people can be. My wife will sometimes use this phrase, and when I'm not at my best, she will say, "You're kind of a martyr," and she doesn't mean that as a compliment, but it really has to do with this kind of sacrificial part. And I think that the challenge that those of us who have responsibility have is that we sometimes say yes too quickly because we like to respond to people, and so we say yes, and we might say so much that the commitments that we make get to be so big that we start to feel to some degree oppressed by the commitments that we made, and then it becomes more about duty than joy. In fact, that's how I kind of distinguish raw responsibility from what I would call more mature responsibility. Raw responsibility feels external pressure to do the right thing. I mean, to some degree, we are motivated externally. And so when someone asks us to do something and we say yes, so we feel external pressure to some degree to say yes. Maybe that'd be a better. Raw responsibility feels external pressure to say yes. I think mature responsibilities feels internal pleasure when saying yes. It's when there's still a sense of joy about doing what they said we were going to do. It's more joy than duty, and I think that's the challenge. There's some other themes that I think could help to manage or regulate responsibility. And for example, if someone has maximizer, as one who easily says yes, this theme can help you discern between a good, better, and best yes. It's actually a theme that helps me become more aware of should I say yes or no, or it's not just yes or no. Sometimes it's good, better, and best yes. Positivity, I think, is a great theme to partner with. Maybe you've got it inside you, or maybe you know another person that has positivity, because people with responsibility, since they're owners, they take things pretty seriously. I don't know if this is true of Klare or not, but it's true of me. So serious-minded and conscientious, you will benefit from a partner who can occasionally help you lighten up. We can be kind of heavy sometimes because we're often kind of carrying a heavy load, and that can kind of affect how we feel and maybe how others feel around us. Relator. Serving others can cause you to neglect those closest to you. This partner might help you avoid such neglect. And then finally, activator. This partner knows that doing something imperfectly is always better than doing nothing perfectly. So an activator will say, don't sit around and wait until you understand it so you can do it perfectly. Get started, and you'll find perfection in the process rather than waiting till it happens. In terms of some of the data about responsibility, it is really a frequent theme in our database. We've got about 29% of people have it in their top 5. So it's really quite a few. It's kind of tied with learner in second place. Achiever is the #1 most frequent theme. I think it's 32 or 33%. Learner and responsibility are at 29%. The theme that is most likely paired with responsibility, and this is really makes quite a bit of sense, is achiever. If you've got responsibility, there's a good chance that you might have achiever as well, which means I want to get my own stuff done, but I also want to kind of get the stuff done that I make promises to other people about. The least likely theme paired with responsibility is command. And that has to do with the fact, partly, I think, that command is just not very frequent with most themes, but maybe there is some difference between those two. Let's see what time we're. I think that's about enough of an overview here. So let's bring Klare into the conversation here. And Klare, why don't you just introduce yourselves to people just a bit? Tell us a little bit about your role at Gallup, what it is that you kind of get paid to do.
Sure. Well, hello, everyone. I've been at Gallup about 3 years now. I was in sales before I came to Gallup. I started in our finance department, and now I'm part of our e-commerce division. It's a really fast-growing, exciting division to be a part of. I'm a go-to manager here in this department, and then I help with a lot of our marketing activities, our lead system, and then I'll be helping with our inside sales team as well.
Okay, so that's a pretty diverse set of responsibilities that you have, and obviously a diverse set of successes that you've had in Gallup and in other places as well. So let's just talk a bit about where you have seen your responsibility kind of specifically contribute to your effectiveness and success. What might be some examples that you might come up with to describe that?
Yeah, sure. I think when you touched on it can be a relationship builder, that's been really helpful to me. So in sales, previous to Gallup and then here at Gallup, I'm real big on if I tell somebody I'll do something, I'll do it. And that's how I win you over. I find where I can help you and start doing things, living up to my commitments, and making sure that I'm helping as much as I can. And it's really, relationships are really important at Gallup. That's how we get a lot of things done here. And once you show that you're pretty responsible, the sky's the limit. So that's kind of what's helped me a lot at Gallup.
When did you first kind of learn that about yourself? When that keeping your word was important. Maybe this is a better question, and I've not asked this question before. As you think about your kind of development, do you think that your responsibility was more a result of the environment you grew up in? Did you grow up in a family where there was where that was kind of an expectation, or was that did either of your parents like that? Was it about environment or genetics, or was it some combination of both?
I think probably like most stuff, a combination of both. I'm an only child, grew up on an acreage, so wasn't a lot of other people to do things for me, like brothers or sisters. So we had a lot of animals, and you have to go out and take care of everybody every day. And if I didn't do it, nobody else would. And probably just like being a manager to people, your people are reliant on you to help them be successful and get things done and get them set up for success. You have to take care of your animals. If you don't feed them, nobody else will. So I think a lot of it was from how I was raised.
Okay, yeah, I think so too. So how old were you when you were taking care of animals?
I had my first pony when I was 5.
And what did that involve? So what did I had that sounds like ownership. It was your pony.
Yes.
And
I'm a very, very independent little girl. I'm sure people can relate to that with your children, right? So I wanted to do everything myself, and my parents were pretty much like, okay, well, it's up to you then to you have to go give them hay every day and brush them and interact with them. So it started at an early age.
Did you ask for a pony, or was it just something they thought you might like?
I don't think I had to ask. Most little girls have to, right? But
I
was pretty lucky.
But did your parents have interest in horses?
Yes,
Or
yeah, my mom,
okay,
yeah, grew up with horses, so we
okay.
moved to an acreage and got, all kinds of animals and stuff.
So yeah, so I think that's interesting that you were an only child. Number one, you said you were kind of independent, but to some degree, you had to be independent in some
Yeah,
ways
yeah,
because there
exactly.
wasn't anybody else to rely on. And certainly,
Yeah.
I think. So tell me, what are some of your other signature themes, just so we can kind of think
Yeah.
about your responsibility in the context of those.
Well, like you pointed out, Kurt, I have learner. That's my number one theme.
Mm-hmm.
I have achiever, input, then responsibility is for, and then analytical.
Okay. Yeah, so this is this 5-year-old little girl. So what did you have to do every day? What was your kind of commitment, or what was the expectation around taking care of these animals?
Well, before you go to school, so it's cold Nebraska winter morning, you have to go out and feed the pony and then go to school and come home and you feed him again that afternoon. And it doesn't matter if it's raining or cold or snowing, that's your responsibility. You need to take care of that pony.
Uh-huh. Do you remember your parents actually saying what you just said to me? Do you remember
Yes.
getting
Yes.
the lecture or the lesson
yeah.
or the
And I have a 3-year-old, and I'm like a typical parent hearing my mother as I lecture him about stuff, right?
Yeah. This is one, I think themes come from, it's hard to tell if it's more genetic or environmental. I have this theory about responsibility that it might be more environmental. I mean, just how we teach our kids and have expectations for responsibility. And I think especially if you were maybe one of the firstborn in your family. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's usually, I think, to some degree, higher standards that we have for how our firstborn lives. So people are often interested in birth order, if that has something to do with it. Maybe you might find that early firstborn have more responsibility because parents have pretty high expectations for how they're, and to some degree we need them to be that way.
Well, and I will say, it did translate into success, throughout my life. So I went to a small country school, 40 people, but academics were really important, and, you turn in your stuff timely. You're responsible to your teachers and your parents for good grades. So I graduated as the valedictorian, and I think, again, a lot of that came from that sense of responsibility. So I need to live up to the standards set for me and exceed them. And so I've always felt responsible to my friends, my family, my husband to really just, achieve as much as I possibly can. That's just part of who I am.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just really, I think this is an interesting conversation, and how whether your parents kind of articulated those expectations for you. Were those spoken expectations, or were those kind of more unspoken expectations that you just kind of felt?
Yeah, it's, when you reflect on it, especially, again, when you're a parent, you're trying to figure out how do you talk to your kids about it. It's not like there was ever a you need to go to college conversation. It was just part of it was expected. Mom was a nurse and my father was a mechanical engineer. So I guess,
it seemed like the right thing to do.
Yeah. Which I'm very lucky that that's just kind of the environment I was a part of. I mean, not everybody gets to grow up in that. So I do have positivity in my top 10. So
you do? Okay. Yeah. That's, I think, an interesting combination, and I think that's an advantage you have. I think when people have both responsibility and positivity, because I think sometimes the high expectations that we have either for ourselves, when we have them for ourselves, it can become kind of a burden.
Yeah.
We don't know how to we take things so seriously, and I think when you've got positivity, there's a part of you that's willing to have a little fun as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like a horse is not just work. I'm guessing there's some fun with the horse as well.
So I would teach my horses to do tricks because, again, you want to make this fun. So I have a horse that I taught to bow, and it could trick rear, and it could shake like a dog. So I definitely like the lighthearted nature of things.
So what was your horse's name?
The one I'm talking about, her name was Cookie because she looked like one of those Oreo cookie colored cows you see, you know? So anyway.
Yeah, kind of black and white. I like that.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, can you think of specific examples of where your commitment to other people really pushed you, where you kind of threw your hat over the wall and said, I'll do this, where it helped you to do something more than if it was just on your list of things to do?
Yeah,
where somebody
absolutely.
asked you.
I think I'm finding in more of a manager role, the responsibility level to the people I manage, it's even higher than just if somebody asked me to do something. And because we have such a culture where we're friends with each other at work, and we manage these super talented people that it's my job, it's my responsibility to put them in situations that they're using their talents, they're being the best they can possibly be. So the responsibility level that I feel for my people is incredible, and it can be very stressful at times. Sometimes I have to realize, look, yes, I'm responsible for some of their success or failure, but it's still on them as an individual. And the thing is, like, I really love celebrating their successes, but I love being behind the scenes, and it's all about them. And I love that. So it's interesting to see how my responsibility theme has kind of evolved. So, for instance, I took over a team across all of Asia, and so our folks there felt somewhat disconnected to what we do here in Omaha. And I felt a huge responsibility to them to improve that situation and, try to pull them into more things, so they felt like more a part of our culture here. And that's something like that I heard from each individual as I talked to them, what could we do to make this better for you? So, they didn't necessarily ask me, but they pretty much told me, here's why maybe I feel slightly disengaged. So, like I said, sometimes I have to reflect on that responsibility and not get in too deep, but yet it's a huge motivator for what I do every day.
Yeah, no, I think that's an important kind of area that people with responsibility have to be aware of. It is a driver, but I like the way that you said it. There's a limit to how much we can own the performance of other people. I often find, do you have a ranger pretty high on your list, or is
no,
a ranger?
Not necessarily. I think it's in maybe my top 15, but
okay.
I'd love to hear from the audience, though. If anyone else, is a manager of people and they have responsibility, do they feel the same way, and how do they kind of maybe manage that or make sure they stay positive and don't get too down if somebody on your team isn't having a successful year?
That's I just pulled my earplug out. One of the things that I've just recently, I had a meeting with my go-to, and he shared with me that I'm a difficult person for him to manage, partly because of my responsibility. And another person, there's two of us on the team that both have high responsibility, and what he knows about us is that we will sometimes say yes. Yep. He almost has to say no for us.
Yes. Yep.
He has to say no because we don't know how.
I have somebody like that on my team too. I just got a new team member, and I saw in his top 5 he had responsibility, and I'm like, yes, woohoo! Because I don't have to, they take care of themselves. But I asked him, as your manager, how can I best set you up for success? And he said, I need you to help me say I can't do that. And just kind of call him back and not commit to too much.
Have you ever had anybody like that for you, who would say no for you, who would kind of protect you from yourself?
I haven't really had that.
And maybe you've not needed it. Maybe that's not been a challenge that you've faced, where you've kind of overcommitted or kind of.
I think, the days I've had maybe not a top 10 day at work, and I reflect on it, it's from overcommitting, not being able to follow through on every commitment, maybe not timely enough. And that's when I feel down. That's when I feel bad. And maybe my stakeholder, they didn't even notice. But for me, I feel bad about it. And that's when I know, hey, like, Claire, you're taking on too much. You can't meet all the commitments by your standards. You need to back off a little bit.
Have you always known that? I mean, that
No.
part where you just, what has helped you develop that kind of sophistication? Because I think that's an important part for people. How did you get to that point where you could kind of talk yourself out of that a little bit?
I think maybe, we've all kind of had those crash and burn moments, especially responsible people, where you kind of just have a breakdown and you drink a bottle of wine at the end of the night. And you're like, okay, I need to say no more often, right? So I think after you've been through that a couple times, then you start maybe reflecting more, at least if you're self-aware, which when we talk about more mature themes, it's knowing those type of things. So I think
experience
to
some degree. Yeah,
absolutely.
bad experiences. Yeah. What is it, and I don't know if there's an answer to this. What do you think it is that makes it so difficult for us to say no?
I feel like the achiever responsibility themes together are like steroids,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what it is, honestly. So
I don't have achiever highs, but I think you're right. I think when you've got both of those, it might even be even harder to say no.
Well,
have you ever? Go ahead.
I think at times I get kind of a high from all these things I'm accomplishing.
Okay. So so there is a payoff.
It's like a teeter-totter, though. Like if it goes the other direction, it goes downhill fast, right? So,
yeah, there is kind of a balancing act that you have to kind of play.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that I have noticed, and I don't know if this is true, is that sometimes when people have high responsibility, which is this strong kind of service orientation, it's about this ability to respond to others, that they can neglect themselves. I mean, maybe their own happiness, their own well-being. Have you experienced any of that? I mean, that's a little more personal, and I'm just saying I have. Has that been an issue ever for you?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, a lot of women can relate to this, that you're taking care of the family, you're working, you're doing all these things. My husband's in dental school. It's kind of his second career for him, so our life's really busy. And again, we have a 3-year-old. So once in a while, I just tell him, hey, I'm going to go, have a girl day and go do these things. And
good for you.
Yeah, of course he's okay with it. But I think we need to, especially if you have a friend that has high responsibility and you do or whatever, just kind of helping each other say, you know what, it's okay to go do something on your own or have your own time.
I like the way that you asked. As I said earlier, we like to be asked to help. It's harder for us to ask. And I'm not suggesting that that's all we do is ask for what we need, but I think typically people with high responsibility have to get a little better at asking for what they need.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've kind of figured that out. There's one question that this actually was a suggestion from someone who tuned into some of our other programs. I thought it's a great question, and I'd like to have you think about this. What do you do, or what have you done to transform the natural talents that are a part of this theme, the things that you do naturally, into a strength? How has your natural responsibility been transformed into being a productive thing? And it sounds like yours has been pretty productive your whole life. I mean, at 5 years old. But are there things that along the way that have kind of taken this raw talent of responsibility and made it more productive?
I think, realizing that it's a relationship builder. So, one thing for me is I have some close friends since I'm an only child. I didn't have sisters or anything like that. But, when you make a commitment to a friend, you follow through on it, and you're always there for those good times, hard times, whatever. And it sounds easy. If you have responsibility, you're like, well, yeah, of course you would do that. But I'm realizing not everyone sees things that way. So that's one way I've made it successful. Again, in teams, I commit, I'm going to do this and this to move this project forward. I come back the next week, I've done it. That helps show, you get stuff done, you do what you say you'll do. The other thing I've noticed is, especially in the last couple of years, if I screw something up and I see it's me, did something wrong, I take full responsibility for that mistake, and I point it out and I say, hey guys, here's what happened, here's what I did wrong, here's what I learned from it, here's how it's not going to happen ever again, and I'm sorry, let's move forward. And that, I feel like, is a big deal. I mean, we've all had people in our lives where they will never admit that that was their screw up, they apologize, whatever. And again, it's a relationship builder. I'm very honest, I'm very genuine, very authentic, and that's really important to me as a manager. None of us are perfect. We all know that, I think, about each other. So I think that responsibility theme helps me own stuff, but then, hey, move forward and go on with things.
Yeah, no, that's really kind of where I think responsibility is powerful and effective, and that's really what I'm trying to kind of understand is what helped you get to there. And maybe you've always been like that, but when you talk about I own what I did wrong, I'm sorry for what I did wrong, how can we get it right, and let's kind of move on. I think that's a pretty mature, and I think that's responsibility at its best. And I think to some degree, responsibility that is less mature is just more about I feel bad. I feel guilty, and we get stuck in guilt, and we don't move through. And I think guilt is a propellant, but some people kind of get stuck in the guilt, and then it's not productive.
No, you have to be able to kind of like let go of it,
Yeah.
That's how I see it. It's like, look, I'm sorry, I feel bad, but I have to be able to move on if we want to make progress too.
Yeah, one of the things that we discovered in great partnerships in our study of the power of two is forgiveness.
Yeah.
It's a pretty important part of a powerful partnership is forgiving somebody else. I think it also begins kind of to some degree with forgiving yourself.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Jim, do we have any questions out there that people would like to have us talk about?
Yeah, we do. But Kurt, I've got a little theory on, before we do that, I got a little theory on this.
Oh, good.
Birth
I love
order,
theories.
Birth order and responsibility, how it fits in. And so, we have that example we use all the time when we talk about good readers versus bad readers. And when we give them a speed reading test, the poor readers still improve, but the good readers improve so much more, right?
Yeah.
And I think this may apply for responsible, people who have responsibility, and they happen to fall into the first, the first slot, and they're given lots of opportunities to be responsible, right?
Yeah.
We lean on them, and I know people who are firstborn who have no responsibility. But they're okay with it because they were kind of forced into it. But those who have it do it so much better when given those opportunities. And so I think it seems like it's a coincidence, or maybe it seems like it's environmental from that standpoint, because it's like, no, all firstborn, have responsibility. I don't think that's necessarily true. Mm-hmm. They learn it. Are they best at it? Probably not, if they don't have that, right? They
learn it because they have to. There's nobody else.
Exactly, right? And so you can improve, right? We show that you can improve in that. But do they like in Klare's case, do they excel in it like Klare would and become the valedictorian and be able to take care of the animals and those kinds of things? I think when it exists and both exist at the same time, in other words, high responsibility and high birth order, it really gets the opportunity to grow.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think the other part of responsibility that I think it's about environmental is there's often a values orientation. I mean, I think sometimes people kind of catch the values of their parents, and these can be, religious values or political values, and I think those are kind of environmental as well. So Good theory, Jim. Now you just have to prove it.
Yeah, hey, good luck. Responsibility is middle for me, so I'm not going to take that and go do anything with it. So Mary Sue asked a question for you guys. What strategies do you use to moderate your responsibilities so that you avoid burnout and overcommitment? You alluded to that in the middle there, but Klare, any strategies you have to keep from overcommitting?
I definitely think it's like an ongoing struggle sometimes. I think, like at Gallup, each year we write down our goals at the beginning of the year, and we print them out, and they're on a framed note card on my desk. And sometimes if I'm trying to figure out, is this something I should take on, I look at that goal sheet. Does it match up to my goals? Is it going to help propel those? Is it going to help our company reach more people, change more lives? And sometimes if it's not, maybe there's a better person, or it's just not meant to be on my radar. So that's one method I've used. Again, it's hard, and I think a manager or a leader can help you with that sometimes, figure out what your priorities should be.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my strategy is over the years I have learned to delay my yes in some cases. And one of the things that I do is sometimes I'll say, can I get back to you? When someone asks me to do something, instead of giving this immediate yes, I say, and what that often involves is why I say I kind of go to my wife. My wife is better at helping me discern my limit than I am. So she can kind of help me decide if this is a good yes or a bad yes. The other thing that I've done is starting to realize that whenever I say yes to something and I'm already at capacity, that yes really means no to something else. And am I willing to say, and usually the things that I'm saying no to are the things that are closest to me. So that has helped me also to kind of manage it, realizing that a yes when my plate's already full means that something else is really going to get a no, and I'm ready. Am I really willing to do that?
Todd had also asked the question back to birth order. Have we done any studies on birth order in strengths at all?
That I know of. Okay. There's lots of interest in it, but I don't know anyone who's done any kind of definitive work in it.
And then Leslie asked the question, so developing responsibility as adults, any thoughts or comments on as adults with responsibility and how you develop those?
How do you, I don't know, Klare, if you have any thoughts on that. I think part of it is just having a clear distinction about what's yours and what's not yours. Ownership, I think, is an issue, and I think the challenge with people with responsibility sometimes is that they over-own. They take too much responsibility for some things, and so just trying to get more clarity about what's really your responsibility and knowing that you might have a tendency to kind of over-own things. That's kind of where you get into trouble.
Well, and I think, too, that's, a good point, is asking whoever your stakeholder is that you made the commitment to, like, what are their expectations? Because you might have a set of 10 things you think that you need to do to accomplish whatever they want, and they're thinking only 2. So, again, it kind of helps to clarify. And then one way I manage it is if I make commitments, I make a to-do list of here's what I committed to this person by this time. And it helps me, clear my mind. Otherwise, I get stressed that I promised something to someone and I forgot about it, and I'm going to fail at delivering it. That's one of my big fears in life, I guess, is always worrying about, am I living up to what I said I would do?
Yeah.
Kurt, I'm going to combine 2 questions. John and Trish had this. John asked this question of you, Kurt. He says, what other themes might be present in responsibility? We talked a little bit about that in the overture up front, but what other themes might be present with responsibility, and how are they subtly different, and especially when we think about includer? So includer and responsibility together, are there other themes that seem to pair up with responsibility?
I think responsibility, belief, and connectedness are 3 themes that often kind of flock together, and I think what they have in common is a values orientation. To some degree, responsibility, I kind of call that a values package. Responsibility is about integrity. It's what Klare just talked about. I want there to be integrity between what I say and what I do. It's about that kind of personal integrity. Belief is more about people who are committed to some kind of core values. Responsibility is commitments that we make to people, whereas belief is more commitment to some kind of core value. And then connectedness has I think, a value for all people. But I think they all have a strong others orientation. And that might be something that includer, he talked about includer. I think there's an others awareness in includer, and I think responsibility has an others orientation as well. But I think the theme dynamics with responsibility, I think, is part of also how we think about how do you manage, how do you kind of regulate responsibility. Like I talked about, I think people have a real advantage if they've got responsibility and positivity. I was just on the phone with someone today, had high positivity and high responsibility, and they had figured out, they know when to have fun and they know when to be serious. And if you have too much responsibility, you might lose some joy. You're not joyful enough. This should not just be dutiful service. You should find some joy in it as well.
Let me, with the last question here, and if we missed your question, take it out to the Facebook group. So we have a thriving Call to Coach Facebook group. Just go to facebook.com/groups/Call to Coach. Love to have you join that. I'll let you in the group, and you can ask the questions there. But both Annette and Todd asked this question from a responsibility standpoint. How do you handle people who don't have it when you do? Right. That's kind of the question of you're seeing people not doing what they say, not having the integrity that's there. That responsibility might be very low for them, and as I would think, as someone with high responsibility, that would make you very frustrated. Kurt, what are some strategies to deal with that? Because I think this is, it's like deliberation, right? It's misunderstood at that point.
Yeah, I think that's one of the basements, I think, of responsibility, is that we can be quick to judge. And so I would say just like you need to slow down saying yes, I think we need to slow down assuming someone is an irresponsible person. I just think when we make judgments too quickly about people, that's usually problematic. So if someone's not doing something, I think it just requires a bit of, because I think to some degree we can be kind of intolerant people sometimes of people who don't do things as we would do it. So I would just say I would encourage people with high responsibility to be slower to judge. I don't mean that we never judge, but I think sometimes there's this instinctive thing that they didn't do it right. And I think I love the way that you've talked about relationships, Klare, that this is a relational theme. And I think if you are going to be a hypercritical, hyper-judging kind of a person, that's going to have a negative effect on relationships. So if you can slow that down, I don't think you can ever stop that. Does that make sense to you, Klare?
Yeah, I mean, so when I had more of the raw theme in high school, college, I hated group projects with a passion. Hated them.
People never did their stuff.
Ever. Like, I'm like, okay, so I'll just do it and you guys can get credit. That's what it always felt like. So, like, your guys' question was wonderful because, oh my God, it just drove me crazy. Now that I'm older, I have a little more empathy, even though it's still really low on my top 34. But like Kurt said, you try to think, okay, I don't know what's going on in this person's personal life. Maybe they're caring for a sick parent. Maybe, they just had a death in the family. I mean, you never know, right? And so, or you don't know maybe all the other things that they're carrying. So I try to be less critical, less judgmental. Just kind of engage in like, well, how can I help you, get this done or meet this timeline or whatever, and just kind of try to personally get to know the person and figure out what motivates them to help them meet their end of the bargain. So it is a struggle. I would say, don't partner up a person with responsibility and somebody that takes forever to get stuff done unless you know that that's a good power of two, because it could go just so terribly wrong. But if you have somebody that can work through that and pull that other person along, it's a great partnership. So,
Yeah, well, I think if I would kind of, are we at the summary part here, Jim?
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, I mean, I just think people with responsibility can be great partners and helpers. I think the word help, I think deep down inside, that's mostly what we want to do. We want to help. We want to help get the job done. We want to help people get better, and I think that's the part that we want to let shine in this theme. But we want to do it in a way that does not turn us into a pile of nothing. How can we help other people but still take care of ourselves? Because here's what I often say to people who are so selfless that they end up ruining themselves, is if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to help anybody. Mm-hmm. So sustaining help over time requires that you are committed to other people, but it also requires that you keep your promises to yourself. And I actually think that's a strategy sometimes that people with responsibility could take, is that they would actually make a promise to themselves. Mm-hmm. Just like they would make a promise to other people. But I think sometimes we do that kind of invisibly, and I think almost being intentionally, maybe about writing it out or saying it, this is what I promise to myself. And if I'm a person of integrity, I can't just say this, I have to do it. So it's really about using your responsibility as not just a way to serve others, but as a way to serve yourself as well.
Well, with that, we'll call it a wrap. And Klare and Kurt, thanks for spending some time with us today. Always good to kind of work through these themes and get some good insight around it. Klare, I know you and I are both managers. We call them go-tos here at Gallup. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes it's a challenge for us in our teams to, when we see these strengths and we talk about the responsibility and someone just getting frustrated with other people, and helping the team understand that strong responsibility strength as well as that employee who has it to understand how they can use it more effectively on it. And I think that's the real power of strengths when we talk about it, is in the context of teams. Kurt alluded to the power of two, and we just really believe that is a powerful, powerful partnership when we put those two together, in that they understand what they're made, how they're made up, and how they're put together. And so, of course, we have all kinds of resources for you. If you're wondering, maybe we have a book called The Power of Two, and if you've not read that yet, it's available at the Gallup Strength Center. Actually, go to our shopping site. So if you go to shop, there it is. Kurt, hold on. Hold on, Kurt. Hold that up. Nope. Now, there we go. That's The Power of Two. That's available. Very good book talking about the power of partnerships. Gail Miller and Rod Wagner wrote that book for us, and that's available. If really a lot of our resources, if you want to purchase those, shop.gallup.com is our e-commerce site, and love to have you go out there. If you're interested more about strengths and how to get codes or coaching materials along those lines, of course, you can go to the Gallup Strength Center. That's just gallupstrengthcenter.com. If you have any questions or comments about the program today, send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. And you can also catch the recorded audio and video of this program, plus all the past ones available, including all the links to our Facebook group and YouTube pages. Tons of resources, by the way. Almost all of those are free, available for you at our website, coaching.gallup.com. You don't have to be a coach to come to that site. We'd love to have you come out and do that. We have been pushing for meetups across the country now, and so we have some 17 here in the United States and 3 overseas, 3 international ones as well. Those are on our meetup page, so if you go to the coaches blog, again, coaching.gallup.com, and look at the meetups tab, there might be a meetup in your city, and if there isn't, maybe you should start one. I'm looking for people with high responsibility to get those started.
Yeah, let's get them to commit right now.
That's right. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Or Activator, that would work too. Or a Ranger. Any of those. If you want to start one in your city, and we've started a bunch over the last couple months. They're not difficult. I'd love to help you with that. If you have some questions on how to do it, again, coaching@gallup.com, and they'll route that to me, and I will get that to you as well. I mentioned the app that's available, the StrengthsFinder app that's available for both iPhone and for Android. Just go to either one of those stores and search for StrengthsFinder. Download that onto your phone. I was actually, during the show today, because Kurt was going to ask me, Jim, where is responsibility for you? And so I pulled it up on my phone, and it happens to be 18 on my phone. One of the nice things about this, you can take a screenshot of it and then make it your lock screen. So if you can't remember what your top 5 are, and many can after they've taken it, be a great daily reminder. The average person checks their phone 62 times a day. Studies show. And so if you want to memorize that, put that as your start screen, and we'd love to have you interact with us as well. Get that. We have all the links available to download this automatically or watch it after the fact. Someone asked me in the chat room, hey, I just got here. When can I watch it again? And as soon as we're done, just refresh the browser and click play, and it's available again for you there as well if you want to do that. So we make that available via YouTube. We want to say if you found this helpful, please feel free to share it, send the links around, and let other folks know. We do this every other Thursday and maybe a little bit more in the summer here at coaching.gallup.com/live. And with that, we want to say goodbye, everybody.